When you realize what your future can be, you want to do it right. UCF Online offers more than 100 fully online programs, plus personalized support from success coaches, so you can get to the future that's right for you.
From the University of Central Florida's Center for Distributed Learning, I am Tom Cavanaugh.
And I am Kelvin Thompson.
And you are listening to Topcast, what we call the Teaching Online Podcast. It is a podcast about teaching online, thus the name.
I can't argue with any of that.
I've stumped you.
No, it's all true. I'll just add to it that we do bill this show as a collegial conversation about online teaching and learning conducted over a shared cup of coffee. And maybe I'll just observe that today we are, quote unquote, sharing virtually, as we sometimes do. We're not in the same physical space, drinking the same coffee poured from the same thermos, but we're still sharing in a bit of a intangible, separated across the miles virtual kind of way?
Yes, we are. And, I'm sure your coffee's better than mine, but that's okay.
I mean, do we have any evidence of that? Maybe your coffee tastes just as good to you as my coffee tastes to me.
True. Who's to say, right? Taste buds are subjective. I can't stand peas. I hate to say it, because I think my life would be a lot easier if I liked peas. I wouldn't have to spend so much time in my pot pies with a spoon, But some people love peas. Taste buds are subjective. I'm sure there are things I like that other people don't.
I gotta do this tangent. Shout out to one of my favorite podcast episodes ever, anywhere, to the now defunct, may it rest in peace, podcast, Surprisingly Awesome, formerly brought to us by Gimlet Media, and the early episode, Broccoli. It is a thing of wonder, filled, indeed, with surprisingly awesome insights. People should go look that up and listen to it.
I will. I like broccoli. Yeah, I do remember, though, when the first President Bush was in office, he had made some offhand comment about how he didn't like broccoli. It's like, I'm 60-something years old, and I'm the President of the United States. I don't like broccoli, and I don't have to eat it. Something like that. And, of course, the broccoli growers of America sent a semi-truck of broccoli to 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. But, yeah, nothing wrong with broccoli, I'm sure President Bush liked other things.
I will give you the teaser that from said episode, you will learn why some people empirically do not like broccoli.
Okay.
And it is surprisingly awesome.
Of course. But we're not drinking broccoli.
As far as you know.
As far as I know I'm not. I don't know what you're drinking, but I have a cup of coffee. And I assume you have a cup of coffee as well. Since you probably have a thematically selected coffee, I'll go ahead and just share what I'm having.
Please do.
I've got sort of my usual afternoon go-to when we're doing something like this, which is my San Francisco Bay decaf French roast. And it's a very fine, serviceable cup of coffee.
Serviceable. That's what I look for in a beverage. Serviceable.
Yep. Yeah, it does the job.
Well, yeah, sure. That's by definition. I guess that's true. You probably want to know what's in mine other than not broccoli. My coffee cup today, Tom, holds a philosophical conundrum. Can you bottle lightning? Can you truly capture an elusive moment? Freeze it in time, we might say? Today, Tom, I am drinking a cup of coffee from people that purport to be doing just that. This particular coffee is a single origin from Bird Rock Coffee Roasters in San Diego, but it was originally brewed weeks ago, more than 1,000 miles away from me, and yet here I am drinking it hot and fresh today. Using a proprietary method, the company Cometeer expertly brews a highly concentrated, allegedly perfect cup of coffee in partnership with some of the best coffee roasters in the US, then freezes that cup of coffee at more than negative 300 degrees Fahrenheit before shipping it out to people like me. So one then brings the frozen coffee back to life in one's preferred coffee method. So to be clear, this is not instant coffee. There are no coffee grounds whatsoever. It's just the coffee. It's just melted and mixed and enjoyed. And it's, get this, comet tier, because like a comet, they are frozen, forward-moving, and impactful.
Oh, wow.
So I thought this particular coffee story was relevant for today, Tom. So I'll say, it was surprisingly awesome, I have to say.
Yeah, sure beats broccoli.
But could you find a connection to today's topic?
I don't think so. I don't know. Now, you did talk about, it's brought to you by people who purport to do something, catch lightning in a bottle, right?
Yeah,
Is that what you said? And I know we're talking about people.
As we often do.
As we often do, yeah, in some generic abstract sense, people. But yeah, we don't freeze them to minus 300 degrees Fahrenheit.
Although some,
yeah.
some maybe that wouldn't be a bad idea.
Maybe, yeah, it's cryogenic, save me for the future kind of thing. Yeah,
That's right.
I don't know, Kelvin. Can you inform me what you had in mind?
Sure. Here's what was working for me and my little quivering synapses. So the idea of the elusiveness of capturing a moment, that bottling of lightning, the qualitative essence of an experience that's hard to grasp, even though these coffee people claim to have done so, and it is a beyond serviceable cup of tasty coffee. There is something we've talked before on a number of episodes. Sometimes you grasp at the qualitative, trying to capture the essence of a thing, especially, I might add, in these post-COVID era times since 2020, we sometimes find ourselves trying to grasp what is it that makes an in-person experience salient? What is it about that? So we've talked about blended learning many times and hybrid work several times, and then we've pointed out in each of those episodes that a key issue is the value of the in-person. So today we're going to discuss the in-person affordances of faculty engagement, professional development, and support in online teaching.
I got it, and I got your connection now. I see. Yeah, because that's often what people complain about in the online environment, especially in online instruction. But there's just not that magical moment, that human connection, those nonverbal cues, and and look, I'm the online guy, but I don't disagree with that. And as you said, kind of towards the idea of faculty development, I have been a proponent of ensuring there's a face-to-face component to that if it can be done. It can't always be done, depending upon the kind of institution you work at and the kind of geographic distribution of your faculty. At a previous institution where I was responsible for that, our faculty were all over the world. It was not really feasible to get together, but I really wanted to. And so it's something that here I've really appreciated. That's been a core component of our our flagship faculty development program.
Yeah, that's true. And I remember probably very late 90s, very early 2000s. I remember exactly where we were in a conference room that I could name and you could picture it. And we were talking even back then about the potential of moving that flagship faculty development program to a fully online thing. There was certainly demand for it. People were like, oh, why in the world do you have in person? And we could just do that online. And I was a real big advocate for keeping the in-person as well. For us, one of the reasons that we have emphasized that is, while that is our flagship program for preparing faculty to design and teach online, we also credential blended design and teaching through that program. And so seems a little hinky if you don't have any in-person experience in it. Seems like you could talk about the online, if it's a primarily online course with some in-person, but you know, there are other reasons as well. So let me ask you, why have you been an advocate for the in-person in that context?
I think there's a value to faculty, especially from different disciplines, getting across the table from each other and sharing ideas, and engineering talking to education, talking to humanities. I think that has its own inherent cross-pollination kind of benefits. There are ideas that you might not have had otherwise that can be hard to share in a threaded discussion. Which can feel perfunctory in many cases, even with faculty, or maybe especially with faculty as students. And there's also, as a component of our program here, this peer review aspect that I think is just really valuable to be done in person. And maybe I'm giving you probably more answers than you wanted, but getting them in our building and meeting with our staff and making a connection with the graphics team and the video team and the people that they're going to work with, and to start to establish that rapport. They understand the kind of services that are available to them. And I think it impacts course design, because they're like, oh, well, now I know I can do this or I can do that, and I can do this particular assignment in a way I hadn't even thought of before I knew that capability existed.
Yeah, that's good. I do sometimes think of that as Velcro, right? There are multiple points of connection between, let's say, the faculty client and our organization, just like those little hooks and loops, right? The more of those little points of connection, the firmer the overall connection. It's not just one tenuous connection, but it's across, and with more of those information channels at play through the in-person. Yeah, I think that makes sense. In the early days, one of the reasons that we did offer the in-person opportunities in the context of that flagship faculty preparation program was it was still early, right? Online was still kind of a new thing. So starting in true blended fashion, starting in person, fostering those kind of connections, and then trying to bring that connectivity online was like a deliberate strategy, rather than starting in this greater transactional distance sort of sense and then trying to build it from there. Today, I think we probably could pull off more of this. Gosh, we've actually done that faculty flagship program the last year or so in a completely remote sense, and yet in very few weeks we're resuming a redesigned version of it, which will include in-person sessions. Some of that is for the credentialing, and some of that is for, we really believe that we need to draw kind of a sharp focus on the affordances of the in-person.
And maybe it's worthwhile just to sort of recap, kind of how that program works, because we sort of have just jumped right into it. But and we've talked about this in previous episodes, but I'm sure people haven't listened to every single episode and memorized them. But they should,
they
absolutely.
Should.
Yes, get started on that right now. But we're talking about kind of our flagship faculty development program, something we call IDL 6543, and it's framed as something of equivalent to like a graduate level workshop. And it's taught in a blended format over 10 weeks. Faculty do receive a stipend for the successful completion of this. We pay them for their time to complete it. And the format is sort of a three-legged stool. There's an online component, there's a face-to-face component, so it's taught in a blended format. There aren't that many face-to-face meetings anymore, but there are a few. And then the third leg of the stool are these intentional, structured, periodic consultations with their assigned instructional designer, which in the past happened face-to-face, and are now probably more likely happening synchronously over, Teams or Zoom, which is sort of a face-to-face-ish kind of experience. It's still much more personal than some sort of asynchronous experience. And those three elements are designed to work in tandem to try to, prepare a faculty member to teach online or blended. And just pulling out one element of that, the face-to-face component, and there are things that we do that I think are done best face-to-face in those few moments when they do come and meet face-to-face. And in fact, during the pandemic, when we had to design an alternative version of this for volume, and we had to pull out some of those, not just the face-to-face meetings, but also some of the instructional design consultation, at least the depth that they typically happen with. You know, I don't think it was the same experience.
Right.
I mean, it did the job. We put hundreds and hundreds of faculty through training when we had to, but
it was
it's nice
serviceable.
to get back. It was serviceable, yeah, and hopefully good. But you know, I think it's nice to get back to what we think is excellent.
Yeah, I know. I think that's right. And shout out, we'll put it in the show notes. We did do an entire episode about faculty development, and ironically, I might be mistaken on this, and I'm not looking it up right now, but I think that was early 2020, like January or February of 2020. I think we released that episode, ironically,
Yeah.
before it all changed. But yeah, so people interested can learn more about that. No, I think that's a good description. But you know, I think arguably even institutions that are not like ours, Tom, you know, either the entire institution is serving exclusively or primarily an online student body, and therefore their faculty are very online, or in institutions unlike ours where the faculty themselves in online programs are, you know, online exclusively. I think there's arguably a place for periodic in-person faculty professional development. Like you know, you see 100% remote employers of all sorts who have periodic in-person experiences, right? I mean, there's a reason they do that other than just being micromanaging control freaks. I mean, there actually is a human value to, you know, gathering and connecting for certain kinds of experiences. I think that's probably true for online exclusively faculty as well.
Yeah, and I mean, we could probably both name programs that we know of at other institutions where, like, especially in doctoral programs, where it might be a distance program, but there are regional meetups where, you know, as part of the program, you're expected maybe when you do your proposal and when you do your defense or whatever it is, there are moments where you come to like a hotel for like a week and you meet with people and you have this in-person experience. You meet with your major professor or whatever it might be. And I'm thinking even in my previous experience, as I mentioned, you know, we did this fully online faculty development program because we sort of had to, given the geographically dispersed faculty. But the institution itself, every other year, would bring literally everybody in for a conference. And I mean, it wasn't just focused on professional development, but that was a big component of it. But it was just to get everybody together, right? So it was sort of a virtual organization that brought everybody together periodically because they valued the things that could only be done in person.
Yeah, I think there's something to it. And I mean, maybe we won't dwell here too long, but maybe it's because it's recent, coming up, impending, maybe we'll talk for a moment or two about some of the near-term plans we have just this term that we're starting here at UCF's Center for Distributed Learning to do a whole semester-long in-person faculty engagement effort. So when this episode launches, we'll be kicking it off like 2 days later. so we haven't even started it yet, but it's all in the works. But we think that there's something worth chasing here. There's some lightning worth bottling.
I mean, I'm really looking forward to seeing how that goes. I'm going to give you credit or blame.
That's right. Hard to say which one.
It's been really, you know, your brainchild, and you know, I mean, I'll give you credit for all the planning that's gone into it because I think it's really ambitious. But if it works, I think it's going to be fantastic. Do you want to maybe describe what the vision is for it?
Sure. So you know, realize maybe it's two pieces of context are helpful. One, of course, you know, pandemic. case you didn't know, you hadn't been paying attention. It was a thing.
Surprise.
Everybody locked down, very remote, long time, blah, blah, blah. This term that we're starting right now, fall of 2022, there's a noticeable emphasis, renewed emphasis on the in-person in all manner of campus life, right? And we can align with and engage with that or not, right? So that's a thing. But two, during the pandemic era, July 2020, we moved from our historic vintage center of campus location adjacent to campus, off campus. I'm positive there are faculty who have not realized this yet. I am positive.
I agree. They think we're still in the first floor basement of the library, and yeah.
I think that's right. And so given all that, just the idea of reinvigorating, renewing, refreshing our organizational relationships with those client faculty. Again, it's the Velcro thing, right? More and more points of hook and loop contact. And we can show off our nice new digs and hopefully stimulate future collaborations and all that. But I'll give some highlights. So right after Labor Day, 2022, we're going to have a brief 1 hour coffee drop-in mixer with our Center for Distributed Learning leadership team in kind of like a little bit of a small exhibit hall kind of a fashion where we just kind of do a little reminder, update, refreshers on the various services, value add for faculty that we offer. And, coffee, light refreshments, some very modest swag, things like a coffee mug that, within arm's reach, you can remember who your instructional designer is using this little lookup feature and remember our LMS help desk phone number. And, it's right there with our name, and which honestly, some of our faculty clients forget from time to time, but we'll try to put it right there. So that'll be the start. And then we'll do a tour of the facility and so forth, but it's kicking off 10 successive weeks of hopefully value add programming from across our various teams within the Center for Distributed Learning, video producers and graphic artists and technologists and instructional designers and developer programmers, all manner of folks who have something to offer our faculty in these little up to 1 hour sessions. So we're calling those 10 Wednesdays. There's at least one of those sessions, beginning of the day, end of the day. Faculty can, coming onto campus or coming back off the campus. It'll be easy to drop in, no parking fee in our facility. And we're gamifying all those activities. So we have our version of like a bingo style loyalty card where if you take the tour in the building, you can QR code check off some activities. And of the 25 possible activities, take the tour, you're done with 5 of them already. And if you complete 15 of the 25, we'll call it done. And you'll get a little prize and you'll be entered into a drawing for a much nicer prize. A little branded flash drive for everybody who completes the card. And you're in a drawing for a 9th generation iPad and an Apple Pencil, right? So all those technologies are very useful in the teaching sense, right? So it's not just frivolous, but there's a little enticement there. But we're hoping along the way in the small moments that there's value, and then there's value in that whole thing of just reestablishing rapport and relationships. So we'll evaluate that when we're done and see whether we're successful in our goals or not. We're going to swing for the fences, and hopefully there'll be some value demonstrated. I hope so.
I hope so too. I think it's great. I'm going to do what I can to help. There's been a challenge because our location wasn't exclusively in the library in the past. We did and still do have a location in the research park in the building we were previously sort of occupying. We've kept some space there. And now we've moved across the street with the bulk of the staff. And getting faculty to come out to the research park has been a challenge historically for us for various things. I used to joke it was like Afghanistan. It seemed like it was so far away, and it's literally just a drive over. But nobody wants to lose their parking spot, right? So you got to time it at the right part of the day. And And as you said, I think we've got some incentives, to draw them over. And, we're going to give it a shot. And even if it's only a few faculty that show up, we'll be re-engaging with those few faculty. I know that you've talked to some of our faculty advisory board, and they were very, very positive about it and enthusiastic and encouraging. And so that's good. And, let's hope it's a harbinger of things to come.
Yeah, I've been delighted. So far, every one of the members of the teaching faculty I've spoken to about this have been encouraging about it, which is bodes well. We'll see, right? People say all kinds of things. They vote with their feet. We'll see if if they come in, and so we hope, right? But maybe just even unpacking from there a little bit. Some of the I think things that we keep talking about in all of our work, whether it's hybrid work or blended learning, or even these faculty-facing events like we just described. It's like, what is that bottle lightning? What is that effusive or that elusive? Yeah, it's not effusive. This elusive, hard to capture, qualitative, distinctive of the in-person. Like when we're doing these 10 Wednesday events, one of the things I've been telling people is, don't design presentations, because the immediate reaction is going to be, this could, there's all these memes about that could have been an email. Right. This could have been a Zoom meeting. No, we didn't, a presentation. No, it's what are you going to do? And things that you have to touch, the tactile, kinesthetic, haptic, hands-on, that's a thing, right? Nonverbal and interpersonal immediacy. You talked about that a little bit, right? You hear the intake of breath. You have this something that is hard to exactly capture. That when you're right next to a person, right, or sharing space, that's hard. And then sometimes there's just affordances of this unique space, with its smells and sounds and
Well,
textures.
I know one of the activities that you have on your agenda is ice cream with the IDs, right?
Yes, that's right.
Well, it's much more fun to eat that ice cream in person with somebody and have a conversation than it is to just stare at them through Zoom while you both eat.
That's right.
I know a lot of people love the Zoom happy hours and all of that. I've just never been able to kind of really connect to that.
The power of the gastronomic experience.
Yeah, it's really true. Yeah, an army runs on its stomach, right? Yeah. All right. Well, that's awesome. You want to try and kind of wrap it up with a succinct bottom line?
I don't know about succinct, but I will try to wrap it up with a bottom line. I will try that. So maybe we can say that there is, Virginia, there is a place for in-person faculty engagement, support, and professional development in this world of online teaching. It can underscore the human touch and keep us grounded in humanizing our online learning experiences. How about that?
How about that? Yes, totally agree. As you mentioned, humanizing, maybe in the show notes we'll list some prior episodes that where we've touched on that theme, because we have a number of times.
That's right.
Do you think we have time for a plug?
Plug away.
All right. So, Kelvin, we haven't mentioned this in a while, but we do, as you probably know, offer a free email newsletter alongside each new episode. If you, dear listener, have a colleague who isn't into this whole podcast listening thing, this might be a good option to share, because they can link right from the email to listening or watching, because we are doing this on video, the episode. Plus, all the show notes and the exclusive bonus content are right there in the email as well. So register for free as a TopCast Insider to get the newsletter and advance notice of interaction opportunities, because we've done some live sessions and more. The URL is bit.ly/TopCast Insider. That's bit.ly/TopCast Insider, all one word. That's bit.ly TopCast Insider. No spaces.
All
Sound
lowercase.
Good?
All lowercase.
All lowercase.
That sounds great. Yeah, we'd love to have you sign up. We don't spam you. We don't sell your stuff. It's safe. It's protected. You know, if you don't like it there, you can leave. It's okay. It's easy.
Yeah, it's really just part of building the community. That's all.
That's right.
So cool. Thank you for the discussion and for the planning for our 10 Wednesdays. And I would thank you for the coffee, but I brought my own. Thank you for that.
That's right. Thank you for bringing your own coffee, Tom.
Sure. Until next time, for Topcast, I'm Tom.
I'm Kelvin.
See ya.